You ever walk into a meeting thinking you're about to discuss quarterly goals, and instead, you're handed your dignity in a sealed envelope? That's exactly what happened to me. It was a Thursday morning in downtown Dallas. I'd skipped breakfast, hoping to grab a bite after our budgets sync. But instead of spreadsheets, Angela, the VP of operations, slides a single sheet of paper across the glass table. Due to departmental restructuring, she says, all syrup and stone, your salary will be adjusted. 60% cut. We hope you understand. It's about the team. I laughed. Not outwardly. Not yet. But inside, something cracked open. $92,000 to $36,800. A slap across 7 years of late-night lab work, breakthrough innovations, and missed father-son weekends. I'm Eli Parker, chemist, single dad, and the man who engineered their rise and their fall. They thought I was trapped, that my son Caleb's medical bills would force me to swallow their insult like a good little employee. What they didn't know was that I'd already patented the backbone of their success, and that I'd been quietly preparing a counterstrike for months. This isn't a story about rage. It's not even about revenge. This is about leverage, knowing your worth, and using your brain to flip the script without ever raising your voice. Because when the system underestimates you, the most devastating retaliation is letting them realize you never needed them in the first place. Stick around, because this isn't just about corporate betrayal. It's about the power of walking away with everything they thought they owned. It was supposed to be a routine Thursday meeting. No calendar alert, no agenda, just Angela's usual quick sync in the 16th floor conference room of Virex Labs' downtown Dallas headquarters. That alone should have raised a red flag. But I walked in anyway, half-caffeinated, still thinking about the enzyme test result from last night's trials. Angela Reese was already seated, flanked by 2 senior execs I'd never seen at my level before. No smiles, just practiced politeness and folded hands. "Thanks for coming, Eli," she said, sliding a manila folder toward me like she was offering a menu. "We've been reviewing department budgets, and unfortunately, we're implementing company-wide salary adjustments." My stomach clenched, but I kept my face still. I opened the folder. A single page. My name, my position, my current salary, $92,000, followed by a bold new figure, $36,800. 60% gone. Just like that. Angela continued, her voice syrupy and smooth. "We believe in your contributions, and we're hoping you'll stay on board through this restructuring. You're part of the Virex family, Eli." Family? That word snapped something in me. I'd missed Caleb's first science fair to pull a weekend shift for this family. I'd skipped holidays, doubled lab hours, and burned through PTO to hit impossible deadlines. When Caleb was hospitalized last year, I still worked remote from the waiting room, submitting reports while my kid was hooked up to IVs. Now, this was my reward. I looked up. Behind Angela, the VP of Finance avoided my eyes. The HR rep tapped her pen nervously. "Angela?" She was beaming like she'd just handed me a bonus. But I didn't argue, didn't yell. Instead, I gave her a slow nod. "Thank you for the update. I'll need some time to review." And with that, I left. Calm, composed, but already calculating. Because what they didn't know, what they couldn't possibly have guessed, was that I'd already filed 3 provisional patents for formulas they'd been profiting from for years. Formulas I developed in my garage, on my own equipment, on my own time. While they thought I was distracted by my son's medical bills, I've been quietly preparing to walk away with the very foundation of their product line in my back pocket. They thought they'd cornered me. In reality, they'd just given me the perfect reason to execute a plan I'd spent 12 months building. One spreadsheet, one receipt, one midnight lab session at a time. The next 7 days were the quietest I'd ever spent in that building, but only on the surface. Every smile I gave in the hallway, every nod to a coworker was camouflage. Behind the scenes, I was locking down my endgame. I kept showing up on time, running routine tests, submitting reports like nothing had changed. I even sent Angela a thank you email for the transparency of the pay restructure. She replied with a thumbs-up emoji. What she didn't know was that I had already met twice with my patent attorney, Simon Caldwell. I'd spent over a year prepping with him, reviewing Clause 4B of my employment contract, the one they all assumed would keep me in chains. But Clause 4B had a loophole the size of Texas. Company retains ownership of inventions developed using corporate equipment, facilities, or time. My key formulas, XR, 7, CR, 18, and the unreleased CW50, have been conceptualized and tested in my garage, most of them while Caleb slept in the next room. I had time-stamped lab journals, video logs, invoices from Home Depot and LabMart. Simon called it a gold mine of documentation. Virex couldn't touch it. On Thursday night, I printed out everything: patent filing receipts, licensing agreements, comparison analysis charts, and slid it all into a thick navy folder. I laid out my navy blue suit, pressed my shirt, and placed my late father's watch on the nightstand. I wanted to feel like power when I walked through those glass doors the next morning. Friday, 9 a.m. sharp, I parked in the visitor lot, not the employee garage. It was a message. Angela's assistant tried to intercept me outside the executive conference room. "She's in a meeting, Mr. Parker." "I know," I said, brushing past her. "This concerns all of them." Inside, 8 high-ranking execs turned toward me. Angela at the head of the table, startled. Decker, the interim director of R&D, looked mildly amused. "Eli," Angela said sharply, "this is a closed meeting." "Not anymore," I replied, my tone firm but calm. I walked to the table and placed the folder directly in front of her. "What is this?" she asked, eyeing it like it might explode. "A licensing agreement," I said. Her eyebrows arched. "For what?" "For continued legal use of 3 proprietary chemical formulations developed by me: XR, 7, CR, 18, and CW50. The last one you've never even seen. It reduces energy usage in industrial degreasing by 30%, all while maintaining EPA compliance in cold water systems." Angela scoffed. "Those were developed at Virex. They belong to the company." "Incorrect," I said, flipping open the folder. "Section 4B of my contract. These were created off-site, on personal equipment, outside business hours. Here's my proof: detailed lab notes, timestamps, receipts, and video recordings. All verified and notarized." There was a pause. The air seemed to thicken. Decker broke the silence, chuckling like a man who thought this was still a joke. "Even if you did create them on your own time, we've been selling those products for years. You can't just take them back." "I'm not," I said coolly. "I'm offering you the chance to keep using them. Legally. $5,000 per month per formula. You can pay the licensing fee, or you can reformulate your entire product line from scratch." Angela's voice dropped half an octave. "You're blackmailing us." I shook my head. "No, I'm offering you an option, just like you offered me one last week. 60% less pay or the door." Another beat of silence. Then Decker leaned forward. "You realize we can fight this. Take you to court. Drag your name through the mud." "You could," I replied. "But I've already signed a contract with Blue Rock Solutions. Their legal team has teeth. And I've sent copies of these patents to Weston and Javier on your board. They'll want to know why your lead chemist left and what it might cost them to clean up after this." Angela's eyes went wide. Those names, Weston and Javier, carried weight. Board-level weight. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out my Virex badge. Set it beside the folder. "You have 5 business days to sign. After that, the licensing rate goes up 20%. Angela stood up abruptly, slamming her chair back. "You're bluffing. You've got nothing." "You sure about that?" I asked, locking eyes with her. And for the first time in 7 years, she looked uncertain. Not powerful, not polished, just cornered. I turned to leave, but paused at the door. "One more thing," I said. "Caleb starts his new treatment plan Monday. Paid in full. No delays. No insurance denials." Angela didn't respond. I stepped into the elevator, adjusted my watch, and for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt like I could breathe. They thought I was desperate, but they held all the cards. Turns out, I had the entire deck. And I'll just play my first hand. By Monday morning, the licensing agreement was sitting in their legal inbox, unanswered. But I wasn't waiting. That day, I walked into Blue Rock's campus in Frisco, Texas, sunlight pouring through the tall windows of a brand new R&D wing they'd built just last quarter. Marcus, the head of innovation, greeted me not from his desk, but in the lobby. Told the board you'd shake things up, he said with a grin. They're already calling your cold water compound the Tesla of industrial degreasers. I didn't even have time to decorate my office before word started spreading. By Wednesday, 3 of Virex's industrial clients had paused orders. 2 of them, heavyweight automotive plants in Michigan, requested meetings with BlueRock about alternative supply solutions. Marcus pulled me into a strategy call that same afternoon. This isn't just a product switch, he said. You're shifting the entire conversation around efficiency. But as we celebrated, a storm was brewing back at Virex. That Friday, I got a call from an unknown number. Eli, this is Jessica. I'm a junior chemist at Virex. I got your number from Jeremy in HR. Please don't hang up. I paused. Go on. They're trying to reverse engineer your formulas, she whispered. They've got the team working 12-hour shifts. Decker said if we can make something close enough, we won't have to pay you anything. I exhaled sharply. That's patent infringement. That's what we said, Jessica replied. But he told us, quote, we just need to tweak it enough to dodge the paperwork. She hesitated. My sister has lupus. I know what it's like to choose between treatment and rent. I saw what they did to you. I just thought you should know. That call changed everything. Simon, my attorney, wasn't surprised. This is classic IP dodge, he explained. They'll use your work as a blueprint and claim it's a new formula. That's why we need to move fast. Within 48 hours, BlueRock filed an injunction and issued a cease and desist. But we didn't stop there. I pitched Marcus a bigger plan, not just defending the patents, but making them obsolete. What if we didn't just license products? I asked, what if we built a fully integrated system? A single protocol using all 3 formulas that no one can copy because they'd have to replicate the entire architecture. Marcus lit up. You want to build the iPhone of cleaning systems. Exactly, I nodded. Let them chase what we already did. We're moving the finish line. He gave me the green light. For the next 10 weeks, my team and I lived in that lab. We tested, reformulated, layered synergies between degreasers, surface coatings, and eco-friendly solvents. We created an ecosystem, fast to apply, cold water-based, and 100% biodegradable. Field testing began at 3 facilities across Texas and Ohio, including 1 former Virex partner. Results? Off the charts. Cleaning time reduced by 42%. Water usage dropped over 60%. Surfaces lasted 2x longer before recoating. One of the plant supervisors actually said, it's like someone gave our equipment a second life. Client feedback poured in. Contracts followed. That same week, I received another message from Jessica. Decker's gone. Angela too. Internal audit uncovered financial inconsistencies. Board scrambling. Morale is rock bottom. Turns out, Angela had diverted R&D funds to a side consulting gig she'd kept off the books. The board didn't just let her go. They scrubbed her name from the Virex leadership page within hours. I should have felt triumphant. But honestly, I felt sad. Not for Angela. Not for Decker. For the good people still stuck inside a system built on silence and fear. Jessica had risked a lot calling me, and her skills, polymer synthesis, data modeling, were exactly what I needed for our next phase. Send me your resume. I texted her. 2 weeks later, she joined my team at BlueRock. I watched her face light up during her first strategy meeting, and I knew we were building something far bigger than formulas. We were building culture. Then came the headline. Breaking, BlueRock's integrated cleaning platform poised to disrupt $7 billion industrial market. It was everywhere. LinkedIn, Chemical World, even Reddit threads blew up with speculation. Virex's stock dropped 18% in a week. That Monday, Marcus called me into a closed-door meeting. You're not going to believe this, he said. Virex's board wants to talk. They're floating an acquisition proposal. I blinked. Wait, what? They're hemorrhaging staff and losing accounts. Weston and Javier reached out personally. They want to salvage what's left. 3 weeks later, I sat across from those same board members, this time in BlueRock's boardroom. You've been busy, Weston said, not unkindly. I've been doing my job, I replied, the way it should have been done all along. The deal was finalized, Blue Rock would acquire Virex as a subsidiary. Their brand would stay, but leadership and product direction would be restructured. Guess who was offered oversight of both divisions? Me, Director of Research and Development. Dual departments. Triple salary. Full creative freedom. When I told Caleb, he high-fived me so hard my hand stung. Does this mean we can get another dog? I laughed. Let's see how Scout feels about that. Looking back, I realized the most dangerous thing wasn't that they cut my salary. It was that for years, I let them define my value. I told myself I was lucky to have a job that provided health insurance for my son. I rationalized the late nights, the canceled vacations, the weekends spent solving problems for people who never knew my kid's name. But value isn't just what shows up on a paycheck. It's an impact you make, the loyalty you bring, and the courage it takes to protect what you've built when no one else will. The truth is, I didn't burn bridges. I lit a new path. And that path led me not just to a better job or a bigger paycheck, but to a workplace where people like Jessica, talented, overlooked, exhausted, could finally be seen, heard, and respected. So if you're sitting in a cubicle or a lab or a Zoom call, wondering if anyone notices how hard you work, they do. And if they don't, maybe it's time to build something that forces them to. Quiet revolutions don't start with fury. They start the moment you stop settling for less. If this story hit you in the gut or gave you a sense of hope, do me a favor. First, hit that like button. It tells the algorithm what we already know. Stories like this matter. Second, drop a comment. Have you ever been undervalued at work? Have you ever had to fight to be seen or walked away from something that no longer served you? Your story could be the lifeline for someone else reading the comments at 2 a.m., wondering if they're alone. They're not. You're not. And finally, subscribe to the channel. This is just one of many real stories we're telling. Stories of silent comebacks, of underdogs turning the tables, of people reclaiming power not by shouting, but by showing up with strategy, resilience, and integrity. So if you've ever been underestimated, overworked, or quietly plotting your own revolution, you're in the right place. We're building something here, and I promise you'll want to be part of it. Until next time, know your worth, defend it, and never hand your value to someone too cheap to see it.